Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the Sidus One and how to do this very, very cool V-lock mod that I've done on it, which replaces the included belt clip with a V-lock. So if you install little V-lock plates onto the back of your iPad, you can very easily slot the Sidus One in and have it be attached to your iPad, just for better connection stability over Wi-Fi. And if Aperture ever release that Ethernet update that they've talked about on Facebook groups and things, you will be able to then have that USB-C run be really short to your iPad and be able to carry it around and not compromise on the flexibility. Now, obviously with the Sidus One, it does come with an aforementioned belt clip, and this belt clip, you attach it to your belt and you can keep the Sidus One on you at all times. Now, I personally don't like this solution for a variety of reasons. One, even in the short Wi-Fi range that you'd be having with the iPad on one side of your body and the Sidus One on the other, there can still be occlusion problems, or alternatively, you could be handing off to just go to the bathroom for a moment, forget to take the Sidus One off your person for whatever reason, and then you walk off, the iPad's there, and all the connection to the lights lost, and the iPad's connection to the Sidus One. Now, my experience with the Sidus One has been when Wi-Fi has been lost, it's been pretty good at reconnecting quite quickly. However, the way it handles a drop in a Wi-Fi connection is often to send a zero signal to your lights or start freaking out. So that can cause a lot more problems. I find when we're breaking for lunch or wrapping for the end of the day and we want to leave the lights on, or if I need to stop set for a while, we need to leave the lights on, I find it better just to turn the Sidus One off than disconnect it from Wi-Fi, because it's so much more temperamental in terms of sending weird signals to the lights. So this is one of the many reasons I like to keep the Sidus One as close to the iPad as possible. Preferably it would have Ethernet and the Wi-Fi would just be a backup, but we can't have everything. It's a very affordable CRMX transmitter. Okay, so what you'll need for this mod is very, very simple. You'll need one of these little V-mount plate things you can get off Amazon pretty cheap, and they will often come with the little V-lock receptacles that you need to put on your iPad. One of these little Torx screwdrivers which will fit into the screws that came with the Sidus One in the belt clip. Through the power of movie magic, we've returned the Sidus One to its original stock state with the very, very snappy belt clip. Now, you also might need to do this procedure if you wanted to retighten the belt clip, if it's come loose over time and starting to not hold as well. You can take it off like I'm about to demonstrate, just to bend it back a bit. So this mod only really requires the removal of these two screws. However, if you mess it up, which we will go over, you might need to remove these 4 screws and the antennas, the antenna receptacles, which isn't that hard, to be honest, but getting the plate back in position is quite difficult. So I went with one of these plates here, and I'll link it in the description, from Amazon. And what I like about these is not only does it have the 2 receptacle holes we're looking for, but it also includes another threading. It's very useful on set because if you need to attach the Sidus One to a stand, you can still maintain it. The thread is nowhere near as deep as the stock one, which is very useful. However, it's still there, so if it's necessary at all, you will be able to still retain that threaded functionality right there. Now, you can always perform this mod using just one of these screws, going through the V-mount plate like this, and then through the originally installed thread. This is what I did originally. So what I've found is no matter how tight you do this screw, it's still going to rotate, and it's actually at such a distance from the iPad, it starts to become even more cumbersome than it already is. Let's go over how we do this mod in the cleanest way possible. So you would think, oh, just remove these 2 screws, put this on, but it's not that simple, because the casing of the Sidus One isn't actually threaded. There's a little metal plate right back there which these screws go into, and that plate sandwiches in between 2 holes in the frame. It's not built in, so if you're not careful with how you do this procedure, if you push a screw in too hard, you will detach that block from the housing and it will fall inside the Sidus One, and you have to take it apart even more just to be able to get access to that plate and fish it out. So you actually don't need to take the screws out that much. You do need to pull up, it's a bit fiddly. That's one. And then what I do is I loosen this second screw here, nice and loose, but I don't take it off all the way, because I want to do everything I can to keep that metal plate inside in place. So now I've loosened it off, I rotate it. Now I would say, if you're brave enough to take the whole thing off, or if you're skillful enough with the tape, to put a little strip of tape right here like I have, because the built-in belt clip has two little locating pins here and here under the screw, which allow this to stay in place very, very snugly. However, the V-locks that we can get don't have these little pins that stick out. So the tape just helps give it a bit more friction to stay in place. Though I will say that with this mod, it will come loose somewhat regularly. And when I say somewhat regularly, I mean if you're using it all the time and you're even grabbing it to hold the weight of the iPad, it will start to come loose once every 2 to 5 days on set. So just always carry a little one of these screwdrivers around with you just to give it a little tighten up. It's not a big problem. In fact, it will probably stay for much longer than you'd expect. However, the feeling of it being slightly loose is a little disconcerting, so it's always good to be able to keep this with you. And the next part of this procedure is we're going to place this V-lock here on there like that. You're going to try and line this screw up. Be nice and gentle, just start giving it a rotation. It's going to start going in. What I usually do is I wait. Okay, I feel it's tight. I'm getting resistance. That means it's threaded through. Then, now that this is tight, I'm going to loosen this second screw here all the way off. Okay. So now that that's off, I'm going to place this to the side. I'm just going to take this off a little bit, just take the pressure off a tad. Okay, there we go. And we're going to place this in here like this. Now remember, you don't want to push down too hard. You don't want to make that plate in the inside go everywhere. Okay. So now I'm just screwing this down. Give it a few more rotations. And there we go. It's nice and tight. Now don't overdo this. These screws are not the most premium screws in the world. You will thread them if you overdo it, but that is very tight now. That will take the weight of an entire iPad on it. Yeah, so I like to do this. I like to take, this could be a Leatherman or a set of pliers, and I just give it, just clamp around that piece there, give it a little rotation, probably like about full rotation, just like this. And then it's off. Now this is not necessarily the best way to do this because it very easily could leave marks on the aluminum here. It's not, don't lose this by the way, it's only like coated, so it can be scratched off with metal, the red colouring. Now I've taken those off, we can remove these 4 screws in the corners. Okay, right, here we go. It's pretty easy, you can just put a nail in along here. Just get access to the device, and boom, it's free. Now you don't want to lose track of which antenna is which, but we just slowly push them through like so, just like that. It's free. Now you can see right here the plate where the screws attach, and this isn't a part of the frame at all, and it's just held on by some glue from the factory, and it can come loose. It did come loose for me when I first did this. I pushed too hard and it just fell off inside. See if we, that'd be disaster. Okay, so much like the top, it's very, very easy to take this bottom off. You just run your fingernail around. It's just something light and thin, and it's like this. You can see it's free. And the USB-C here, it's interesting because it's got these 2 nice thick cables running into the board here for power, but there's another cable right there with what I believe is about 4 wires built in, running a little flex cable, and I believe that means it can either do USB 2, you can definitely do USB 2 speeds over it, and may even be able to do USB 3 speeds over the USB-C port, which would be really, really cool, because that means it is potentially possible for them to do Ethernet over USB-C in an update or something. If they'll ever add that, we will never know. The likelihood is they probably won't. Also, by the way, these are little antennas that I got, right angle ones from Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. And they fit on really, really nicely. They go on here, they're right angle ones, and the great thing about it is there's no rotation part. They're actually very, very durable. As you can see, it just slots on like that. It's very free moving, but it stays in place, it stays out of the way, and when it's on the iPad it doesn't stick up and it's very unlikely to get caught in your clothing. I don't use it for the CRMX antenna, but I do use it for the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antennas, because the Wi-Fi one, it's so close to my iPad that the halving, if not more, of the range isn't really a big issue. And I use it on the Bluetooth one because I've found, for me personally, the Bluetooth has been pretty much useless because I can't use it at the same time as CRMX, and Sidus Pro doesn't offer DMX conversion, which means I can't use any of the Aperture Bluetooth fixtures in blackout anyway, which is my preferred app of choice. Or if I was on a larger lighting desk like a Grand MA, I'd still have to use Sidus Pro, which is kind of the whole reason I would buy something like this, because the stability doesn't massively improve, I found, with the Bluetooth. With this, I mean, is it an improvement? Yeah, 100%. But is it one worth the £300 asking price? Not at all. If I can't integrate the Bluetooth lights into the DMX setup that I have already, I don't really see why I would need such extra stability from the Bluetooth lights. So it just doesn't really seem like a necessary feature at all in that way. If they could add, Bluetooth conversion to DMX to this device, I think it would genuinely be quite game changing, even if you had to configure that through Sidus Pro. However, as it stands, it's just a pretty good affordable CRMX solution, but it doesn't really integrate at all the Aperture ecosystem, and I would much prefer if it didn't have that third antenna, because it's just sending out 2.4 gigahertz. I mean, potentially it's not doing it all the time, but it's sending out some form of 2.4 gigahertz Bluetooth most of the time, and it's all that's really going to do for me is just send out interference, and there isn't a way to disable that in the app. And though I haven't personally encountered a situation where I found it's been giving me massive interference, I'm currently looking for a way just to plug the port to really give it as minimal range as possible, so it creates as little interference as possible without leaving the plug bare and open, because that can lead to problems electrically inside the device. Now here we go, it's all buttoned up, much as it was before, tight as a whistle. I quite like this device, it's very, very cool. These little antennas I have here, I'll leave in the description links to everything I can. But this is it with the V-mount lock. I hope you've enjoyed this and a little explore of the inside, just having a look at a few bits and bobs in it. And yeah, that's about it really. Enjoy your V-mount. Enjoy it on the back of your iPad, connected nice and tight. Not going anywhere, is it? And just so you can see as well, this is how I have my personal one set up. I also have this little V-mount on the back of my battery pack. It's a plastic V-mount on a plastic battery pack, which means that I can just super glue it on, and it's very strong because plastic on plastic is where super glue really excels. So it slots on just like that, and it can hold the weight of the iPad really well. Both of these devices can hold it with their V-mounts on. It's just a very useful solution. Plug it in like that, and as you can see with these little modules, the only antenna I have to worry about is the CRMX one. And as long as I've always got a spare white one over here that came with it, just in case it breaks. But then these two stay out of harm's way. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it, most importantly, useful. And just have a lovely day if you can. Goodbye now.